BBC World News, the biggest African and international news stories. Focus on Africa.
Hello and welcome to Focus on Africa. I am Peter Okwoche, live in the Nigerian capital, Abuja. Nigeria has a new president-elect.
Tinubu Bola of the APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the ruling party has been announced as the winner of last Saturday's presidential elections. But the opposition say they will not accept the results and could be heading to the courts.
And I'm Lukwesa Burak in London. Also in the programme, how has the Western African country of Mauritania managed to stave off security threats from jihadists? Well, we'll be hearing from the president in an exclusive interview. And in the sport with Mimi, will Ghana's Thomas Partey start for Arsenal in their tie against Everton in the Premier League today as they look for revenge.
Thanks for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. The candidate of the ruling APC party here in Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has been announced the winner of last Saturday's presidential polls. The 70-year-old politician garnered about 37% of the vote, while his nearest rival, Atiku Abubakar of the main opposition People's Democratic Party, got 29%, and Peter Obi's Labour Party got just over 25%. We've actually been situated here at a location just opposite the campaign headquarters of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and all day we've been hearing people playing music there and celebrating his win. Here is the moment he was announced as the winner of those polls.
Tinubu Bola Ahmed of the APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Tinubu, in his first statement after that announcement was made, thanked Nigerians and asked them to remain calm.
I am profoundly humbled that you have elected me to serve as the 16th president of our beloved country. To serve you, be your servant and not be your leader. To work with you and make Nigeria a great country.
Well, President Muhammadu Buhari has also sent his congratulatory message to President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, although he did acknowledge that there were some flaws in the election process. He says they were not enough to scuttle the whole process. So, who is Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu? My colleague Demesen Debesai takes a look at the man.
And is returned elected.
After a tense few days of waiting, this was the moment Bola Tinubu learned he was the next president of Nigeria. He allowed himself a brief moment of celebration before making his first speech as leader of Africa's most populous nation.
Announcement has been made that I have been elected the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is a serious mandate. I hereby accept it.
So, what do we know about the president-elect? He's 70 years old, one of Nigeria's richest politicians, and before politics, he trained and worked as an accountant. He was a member of the pro-democracy National Democratic Coalition in the 90s, before he was forced into exile by the military ruler Sani Abacha. He returned to Nigeria after Abacha's death in 1998 and entered politics as the country returned to democracy. He was governor of Lagos State from 1999 to 2007 and was credited with reshaping Nigeria's commercial hub. Huge foreign investment brought money into Lagos, but the city of around 25 million people has not lived up to its reputation as a mega city. Public infrastructure is largely in a state of disrepair. A light rail project he started has not been completed after 20 years. Tinubu has built a reputation as the political godfather of his home region of the Southwest, a figure who helps put others into office. His support helped outgoing leader Muhammadu Buhari win 2 terms in office. And since he bowed out as Lagos governor in 2007, Tinubu has picked every subsequent winning candidate to run Africa's biggest city. Mr. Tinubu campaigned for the presidency under the slogan, "It's my turn." And his supporters say his skills as a political operator and businessman are exactly what Nigeria's struggling economy needs. But his detractors believe he lacks transparency and isn't in good enough health to handle Nigeria's complex challenges. He takes office amidst rising insecurity, surging inflation, a crippling cash shortage, and unemployment. Temesgen Debasai, BBC News.
Well, Mr. Tinubu's election has not gone down well with everybody. In fact, some observers described the whole electoral process, and let me just quote them here, saying they were well short of Nigerian citizens' reasonable expectations. But what about ordinary Nigerians themselves? I sought their views on the streets of Abuja.
I personally am not happy. It's not like I feel that I lost my father and my mother, because there's no hope for us again. And I believe that, yes, what other people were saying that, yes, money rule the world, is like it's true. It's true. Only God, may God help us.
So at least by my own side, the election is very, very nice, very successful to my own understanding. So I believe it's a very good one.
We know what we went through. It wasn't easy. We had over 3,000, registered voters for my polling unit alone. Most of them were disenfranchised. Most people that even voted in the middle of the night. So it wasn't credible, it wasn't free, it wasn't fair.
Anyone telling you he or she is happy about the results of the presidential election, the person is lying. Every Nigerian, everybody, because we're tired of what we've been seeing. We are tired of what we've been going through. We wanted a shift. Even if it's for 8 years, it would have been better.
So what about the opposition parties? Well, yesterday they described this election as a sham and said they would not accept the results. Earlier today, the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, which is Peter Obi's party, held a press conference and said they would be seeking redress in the courts.
We will go to court within the stipulated time. And the legal team is at work already, and you'll get more details from His Excellency Peter Obi when he speaks. Nigerians contested the 2023 presidential elections through Peter Obi and my humble self. We are going to keep the struggle alive, irrespective of the very low confidence we have in any system. We had extremely low confidence in the promise of the government that there will be free and fair elections, yet we went ahead. We went ahead into the elections.
So what exactly are their grievances? Well, Senator Okwoche Ayu is the chairman of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, which came second in those announced results. I sat down with him and began by asking him what he made of the election results.
The results are very, very disappointing. Disappointing precisely because of the process. There are laid down laws and regulations on how elections should be conducted in Nigeria. Unfortunately, the electoral umpire did not in any way follow those processes.
What exactly are your grievances?
The grievances are precisely because the electoral umpire, which is supposed to be independent, it is called Independent Electoral Commission. In other words, it's not supposed to side with any of the contesting political parties. Unfortunately, the law provides that results should be uploaded to the server from the beavers. Once election takes place at the polling unit, you must, it is not optional, you must upload results to the beavers, to the server.
To the server, yes.
Unfortunately, the electoral umpire, on a very large scale, refused to do that. In other words, they violated the law as provided by the Electoral Act and even the guidelines provided by the Independent Electoral Commission.
Some would argue that your party, the PDP, has actually done better than expected at these elections. I mean, the fact that all three major political parties, your party, the party which won the APC, and the Labour Party, all won 12 states each, exactly the same number, that is a sign that democracy is working on the continent. I mean, you even won President Muhammadu Buhari's state, even though he was campaigning for another candidate. Isn't that progress?
It is not just a question of statistically saying we won a number of states. We did even better in President Buhari's home states, but the results were suppressed. The margin of victory would have been much more if about 5 local governments were not manipulated.
But is it likely that this could end up in court?
It is very likely. Usually, we are a law-abiding party. We have never taken any extrajudicial measures. We always try to make sure that we work within the law. But it is very clear, and it is not just we in the parties that have complained, or the international observers that came to observe these elections indicated very clearly that they were far below expectations of a democratic process.
So that's Dr. Yochayu, the PDP chairman. Let's get more on the top stories from today's events here in Nigeria. I'm joined by NLB. She's the country director for Action Aid in Nigeria and also the convener of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, which is a coalition of about 70 civil society groups that monitor the Nigerian political process.
That observed.
Well, okay. Thank you very much. So, are you surprised by the results today?
Well, not too much of a surprise about the results that came out, but about the process. There are some procedural issues because we're going into this election with so much expectations. We're also going into election after the introduction of the new Electoral Act, which is the Electoral Act 2022. And that Electoral Act is more or less an issue of technology, introduction of a major technology. The bimodal verification and accreditation systems came on board, and from the tests in terms of the off-cycle elections that have been held in Anambra, in the FCT, in Ekiti, and also Osun State, made us to also know that your votes will count. And so that eradicates the issue of ballot snatching, where you can just snatch ballot papers and then you go and thumbprint and then you represent some polling units. It's no longer like that because the beavers now makes it, it's a must that you have a beavers for a particular polling unit, and you cannot use the beavers for this polling unit for the other polling unit.
So does that mean that the political parties who feel aggrieved that they actually do have a point to stand on if they go to court?
They do have a point to stand on. The promise by the INEC chairman and the body itself was that there was going to be, a direct upload of results. As soon as results are over, there will be direct upload of the results. But this did not happen on Saturday. So this was a major flaw because, the age of technology meant that the young people because of the technology, a lot of people are beginning to believe again that this is going to work, their votes will count, and so there has been a surge. You know, we're going into this election too with the third force, where the young people mobilize themselves after the primaries, mobilize themselves, and they said they were going to participate from the continuous voter registration and all of that. You know, so coming into that, there was a threshold which the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room launched 2 years to the election, and we shared copies with INEC. INEC made a promise. We were told at a point that there was a bit shaky of decisions about uploading the portal, onto the portal. This was used by 10 p.m. on both the Ekiti, even the Anambra election and the Osun election. About 95% of the results were already uploaded. So what happened here? We had no idea, and we have been asking and demanding, you know, that accountability. Up to this moment, the INEC chairman has not said anything about it.
As a matter of
and
fact,
so it's shocking.
As a matter of fact, at the press conference today, when he was asked to talk, he refused to talk. But NOB, thank you very much for your insights into this story here in Nigeria. And, you know, the winner has been announced. But as I said, the opposition party saying they're going to court. Court cases of such nature here in Nigeria are a very long process. So we wait and see. Back to you, Lukwesa.
Peter, thank you very much indeed. Well, still to come on the programme, we've got all the sport and sad news from the world of sport. The World Cup record holder, Just Fontaine, who was born in Morocco, has passed away at the age of 89.
Growing up in the public eye is a very bruising experience, and it's really hard to develop and change.
The goal of feminism is to make itself redundant. We want to get to a world where we no longer need feminism.
Is that what a woman has to do in the world, is just lose weight to like get attention? For me, it was so much bigger. It was about just being the healthiest version of me, so it wasn't about a size or a number or whatever.
Girls today, we encourage so much diversity, but women have always been diverse. It just hasn't been acknowledged and it hasn't been accepted.
Women find their strength, their superpower together. And that's why I think women are leading the climate movement against the climate crisis. And I just want to acknowledge that and applaud it.
Join us in celebrating 10 years of 100 Women on BBC World News.
Now, we often hear news from the Sahel, and it's often associated with Islamist attacks. Now, one of the countries that we don't is Mauritania. It's not often in the news. It used to be, but let me just give you a little background. It's actually the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. It gained its independence from France in 1960. Now, it's a very small country. It has a population of 4.6 million people. Many of them are nomads. Now, in terms of natural richness, most of it, well, like much of Africa, mineral resources, iron, copper, and gold. And it's also one of Africa's newest oil producers. But the most exciting aspect to economic potential is liquefied natural gas. Now, this is a country that has a history of military coups, but since 2019 and the election of its current leader, it has been hailed as taking baby steps towards a more open, democratic society. We've got a rare interview, rare access to Mauritania. The BBC's Caroline Loyer sat down with the president, Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, and asked him about how he kept his country security safe.
On est épargné parce qu'on a fourni les efforts qu'il faut.
We've been spared because we've made the necessary efforts. Security has been a priority. The army and the security services have their responsibilities, but imams and religious chiefs also have a responsibility to raise awareness. We are aiming to send a message to these terrorists that they shouldn't come here, and I think they understand. If other countries had the same commitment as Mauritania, the same determination to fight against terrorism, I think they would be in a better position too.
Are you saying that your neighbors are not determined enough?
Non, je pense pas qu'il y ait un manque de volonté politique.
No, I don't think there is a lack of political will. It's mainly about the military commitment. These terrorists, even in small numbers and less equipped, are extremely determined and very aggressive. So on our side, we need to be at the same level so we don't lose that battle.
De l'autre côté aussi, il faut être à ce niveau-là pour ne pas perdre la bataille.
The security situation in the Sahel region continues to deteriorate. Mauritania is one of the 5 members of the G5 Sahel. How could the region get out of this crisis?
Il faut beaucoup de coordination et de mutualisation des moyens au niveau du G5.
The G5 Sahel countries need a lot of coordination and pooling of our resources. We need to make sure there is good morale within our armies and that they are well trained. But I would always say that we need to have strong faith in what we're doing.
De croire beaucoup en ce que nous faisons.
Mr. President, Mauritania shares a 2,300 kilometers long border with Mali, a country that is repeatedly facing attacks. Does this situation worry you?
Bien sûr. D'abord, si cela...
Yes, of course. First of all, even if only Mali was affected, I would be worried because Mali is a brotherly country, a friend, a neighbor. But the presence of a threat at this level in Mali represents a threat for my country too.
Constitue en soi-même une menace pour mon pays.
Some of your neighboring countries have decided to answer the jihadist threat by inviting Russian mercenaries. Is this a solution to you?
En ce qui concerne une décision...
If any country forms a partnership, it's a sovereign decision and not for us to judge.
Pas de leçons à donner aux autres.
I'm not asking you to judge, but you must have an opinion.
Nous espérons que les partenariats...
Well, we hope that these partnerships are effective and that if the aims are achieved, that it is done with respect to human rights.
Tout en respectant les droits de l'homme.
Have you ever been approached by Wagner?
No.
Would you consider collaborating with them?
It's simply not the case.
But if that was ever the case, would you consider collaborating with them?
No.
No, we are a sovereign country and will remain so.
What do you think of the growing anti-French sentiment in the region?
Je sais qu'on n'a pas ce sentiment ici, en Mauritanie.
We don't feel that way here in Mauritania. For us, France is a friend.
C'est un pays ami. Je ne vous cache pas que parfois un peu je suis étonné.
I must say that I'm surprised when I hear about such sentiment. For us, it's actually the exact opposite. I believe that France's intervention in Mali has made a big difference in the fight against terrorism.
Par rapport à la lutte contre le terrorisme.
And just to let you know that that interview took place shortly before a visit to Mauritania by the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. The Mauritanian presidency has confirmed to the BBC that its position remains the same with regards to the Wagner mercenary group, adding that there aren't and there won't be any foreign forces in its country. You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. Mimi has the sport. Mimi.
Thank you, Lukwesa. It's a big day for football in England today as Arsenal go 5 points clear at the top of the Premier League with a win at home against Everton. And there is a wait to see if their Ghana midfielder Thomas Partey will start for them. Partey, who was out injured but made his return this weekend in the game against Leicester City when he came on as a substitute for their manager Mikel Arteta. He's focusing on getting a win after losing to them a month ago.
But the bottom in this league for me is not so important, and we have had many experiences and a lot of teams have already this season experiences on that. Don't take anything for granted. Tomorrow we have to earn the right to win that game, and that's going to be tough.
The head of the Burundi Football Federation met with FIFA President Gianni Infantino in Paris to discuss the development of the game in the country. Alexandre Muyenge admitted that infrastructure in his country was a key factor.
Là, comme vous le savez,
As you know, youth is the heart of everything. So we talked about how to develop and detect the talents of our young Burundian players so that they can access the whole world. Secondly, we talked about the sports infrastructure because we cannot talk about football development without a sports infrastructure.
Now to some sad news. French football legend Just Fontaine, who holds the record for the most goals scored at a single World Cup, has died at the age of 89. Fontaine scored 13 goals in just 6 matches for France at the 1958 World Cup in Sweden as they finished third. Born in Morocco, Fontaine played for local side USM Casablanca early in his career and later took charge of the Moroccan national side as head coach, leading the country of his birth to third place at the 1980 Africa Cup of Nations. That's all the sport, Lukwesa.
Mimi, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. We'll be back tomorrow. From myself and Mimi, bye-bye.